Okay, so this is a book that was read at our reading assembly literally 5 minutes ago that I'm going to start recording and sharing with everyone. So those children that are isolating or those parents want to listen to some of our books for their other children that we read every Thursday without fail, you are more than welcome to. So I'm going to post this on Twitter. So I picked this book up from the National Trust, and it is an absolutely brilliant book with lots of lessons that can be learned in it. And it's called The Last Tree by Emily Howarth, and then we've got Booth there. So yeah, lovely book, beautiful illustrations, which I'll show you through this PowerPoint. And yeah, enjoy. Once upon a time, a group of friends were looking for a place to live. The desert was too hot, the valley was too wet, and the mountain was too windy. Nowhere was quite right until they saw the first tree and came to the forest where dappled light fell through the leaves and a gentle breeze twisted between the branches. All summer long, the friends lived and played among the trees and slept on the mossy floor. When winter came, the breeze turned colder and they took a few branches for firewood. But where they had taken branches, the rain came through and put out their fires. They chopped down a few whole trees to build shelters, but that made the forest colder still. So they cut down some more trees to turn their shelters into cabins. Soon it seemed that the more wood they took, the more they needed to take. When summer returned, the sun blazed down and there weren't enough trees left to shade them. Yet a few more branches made very pleasant porches. Before long, the people became skilled carpenters, and all summer they worked hard to make the perfect village. But when the autumn winds came through again, they whipped through the spaces where the trees used to be, throwing all the villagers' fine work into disarray. They needed a new plan, one that would solve all of their problems forever. Let's tie everything down with a rope. That'll never work. We'll have to do something. We should catch the wind in big bottles. A barrier's the answer. We need more wood. So they cut down all the trees still standing. All, that is, except one last tree that was no good to anyone. Well, what about that one then? Oh, leave it. It's more like a weed, really. And with wood, they built a wall. What fun they had working together to build it. How proud they were when it was done. Stillness descended like a blanket. The clothes stayed put. The plants grew tall and straight. At last, the place really was just right. Or was it? But with nothing to look at but the wall, something happened to these people. In time, they started to forget their games and songs, and soon the happy village had grown cold and hard. For now, the villagers had walls around their hearts. Look, I saw the neighbours looking at me strangely yesterday. I think they're jealous of our cabbages. They were peeking through our windows, I swear it. Perhaps we ought to reinforce the door, fence the garden, board up the windows. It had taken all the wood they had to build the wall. And so before too long, each parent, thinking they were being very clever, said the same thing to their child. Remember that last tree, the one more like a weed, tiny and weak. We need to stay inside and guard the house. So if you take this axe, go beyond the wall, see if it's still there, chop it down and bring it back to us as wood. Get it before the other neighbours do. Oh no. But when the children, creeping out beyond the wall, found each other by the little tree, they soon forgot their task. They laughed and ran and played and sang and tended the tree and gathered its seeds. Each day they visited, it grew a little taller and more proud until they knew that they could never cut the last tree down. Meanwhile, each night the parents asked their children why they hadn't brought back the wood. But when the children talked about the tree and how it made them feel, their parents wouldn't come outside to look or even listen. So that's when the children knew what they had to do. They started to bring home wood, but it wasn't from the last tree. And when it was delivered, plank by plank, their parents didn't question why it was so long, straight and smooth. All they said was, "That'll do just fine," and "Oh, that's good." They boarded and banged and fenced and reinforced, and never once looked out or up to see. I think I know where these planks have come from. It was only when the wind rushed into the village, rattling their boarded up windows and knocking down their new fences, that they ran outside and saw that despite their new wood, the last tree still stood. In the bright daylight, they remembered that they were old friends, not enemies. And when they heard their children playing in the tree, saw how cool the wind twisted gently through its branches, and the sunshine fell in dappled shadows to the ground beneath, they were reminded of how things used to be. Then all at once they understood what they had done and how perhaps they could begin again. What fun they had taking down the wall, and how proud they were when it was done. As they planted seeds and tended the saplings, they talked and sang, and as the children grew, a new forest grew with them. And finally, the last tree became the first. Okay, now that is the end of this absolutely brilliant book, and I think that there are a lot of lessons and hidden meanings to this book. A lot of our children in our assemblies discussed how we can all learn from each other. The message there that the parents had to stop and listen to the younger generation who maybe were thinking further into the future that they were, and lessons that we can learn now with children that are acting to save the planet and speaking out, which is great. How we, on a smaller scale at school, could look after our environment more, picking up litter, making sure that we're not littering ourselves, and look after the trees and plants that we have around us. And also the act of kindness, and how that was very easily forgotten sometimes, and how we need to make sure that we are kind to ourselves and those around us, especially during these times. And also to look at each other and make sure that we are being the best people that we can be, and support everyone around us, like these children did. And it showed their parents and told them really that they had to reflect on how they were behaving and be the best people that they can be, which they turned out was a success. So, and that last tree still stood, which is brilliant. Right, so that's the end of this week's reading assembly. There will be another one on the first Thursday back, and I will make sure to record it. So I hope everyone's enjoyed. Thank you very much.